of Georgia and the United States 14th Congressional District. The information discussed will allow you, our guests, to learn more about the candidates, platforms, and priorities. This will allow you to make a well-informed decision when casting your vote. Please listen intently and enjoy the forum. Next, we will hear from our Social Action Committee member, Sarah Katrina James.
Thank you, Sarah Ringfield, for that warm welcome. My name is Katrina James. I am a member of the Social Action Committee of the Douglas Carroll Paulding County's Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I would like to take this time to introduce to you our chapter president, the kind, the smart, the talented, Dr. Elaine Thurman.
Thank you, Sarah James, for that warm introduction. Good afternoon. I am Dr. Elaine Thurman, president of the Douglas Carroll Paulding County's Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated was founded on January 13, 1913 by 22 collegiate women at Howard University to promote academic excellence and provide assistance to those in need. We are a service-based sorority with more than 300,000 initiated members and over 1,000 chartered chapters worldwide. The sororities seriously considers the issues impacting the Black community and boldly confronts the challenges of African Americans. The sorority's 5-point programmatic thrust consists of economic development, educational development, international awareness and involvement, physical and mental health, and political awareness and involvement. This year, the Douglas Carroll Paulding County's Alumni Chapter is celebrating 15 years of service, scholarship, sisterhood, and social action. We are a membership of over 370 hardworking, dedicated, college-educated women dedicated to causes greater than ourselves. It is indeed a pleasure to welcome you to our Candidates Forum. We will now have an opening prayer by Sarah Wanda Willis. Thank you.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you, Madam President. Good afternoon. Now let us pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time and space that's been provided to give these men and women who have been brave enough to offer their time and servitude to the citizens of Georgia for the betterment of democracy. In Jesus' name, amen. Now our Sergeant of Arms, Sora Regina Horton, will go over the rules for all candidates to abide by.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Sarah. That was an awesome prayer, Sarah Willis. And now for an explanation of the rules. Each candidate will be given 3 minutes to introduce themselves, give a brief background, and talk about the highlights of their platform. A 10-second warning will be given. Then the candidates will have 90 seconds to answer one unique question. Again, a 10-second warning will be given. After which time the Sergeant at Arms will have to silence the microphone. Each candidate will also be given 90 seconds for closing remarks. If the candidate wishes or finishes to respond to an answer before the time is up, please say thank you at the end of the statement as an indicator to the moderator to move on. We will now hear from Sarah Beverly Leslie from our Rome Alumni Chapter.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Beverly Livesey, and I'm Social Action Chair for the Rome Alumni Chapter. And I would like to introduce to you today the first moderator. She is a dynamic young lady who is the current president of the Rome Alumni Chapter, Soror Lauren.
Thank you for that introduction. Good afternoon, and it is an honor to serve as a moderator of this candidates forum. Candidates, thank you for participating. Let's get started with the introductions and your candidate platform. Candidates, as said earlier, you will have 3 minutes to introduce yourself, give a brief background, and let the audience know the priorities of your candidacy. We will begin with Ms. Wendy Davis, followed by Marcus Flowers, and then Holly McCormack. Ms. Davis, you may begin.
You're on mute, Wendy.
Is that better now? Sorry. You'd think I'd know how to do this Zoom thing by now. My apologies. I am in my car between campaign stops. It's a pretty big district. So anyway, thank you so much to the Sisters of Delta Sigma Theta for this opportunity to speak with you this afternoon. My name is Wendy Davis, and I want to be the next Congresswoman for Northwest Georgia. Some of you know me from my service as a 2-term Rome City Commissioner, and that service makes me the only candidate with experience as a policymaker, and I'm the only congressional challenger who has ever won an election. I'm here for the same reason many of you are, because we've seen what can happen when you pick a stranger who's a political novice and send them to be your voice in Washington. In many ways, this is like a job interview. I think all of us on the conversation this afternoon agree that it's time to fire our current representative. I'm here to say that I have the qualifications and background to do this job for you along many levels. First of all, my local roots run deep. My dad's family goes back 5 generations in Northwest Georgia, also a proud Berry College graduate. And I returned to Rome in 1999 to serve as Berry's alumni director. I got the stadium that brought the Braves to Rome built, and I served 2 terms as a Rome City Commissioner. I believe that we all deserve better than what we're getting from Marjorie Taylor Greene. But more than that, I think we deserve better than we've gotten out of Washington for decades. For more than 30 years, I've worked to connect citizens to opportunities and to improve our government and communities by working together. I've worked around the district, around Georgia, around the country, and at every level of government. But I have to say, helping bring professional baseball to Rome is one of my proudest accomplishments. As a city official, I've worked hard to engage with my neighbors, adding a broad range of voices to our work, being responsive to concerns, and seeking innovative solutions to help our city thrive. At the national level, I brought the voice and concerns of our region to the attention of others and built strong relationships in Washington and across the state. For folks who know this district and know this field, those folks are on my team. And I currently have more than 90 current and former elected officials who've endorsed my campaign, including former Governor Roy Barnes. And I just received the endorsement of the Georgia AFL-CIO because they know my work for working families. If you look at the depth and breadth of my community involvement, you'll see that I didn't just show up on the scene this year because I saw an opportunity. I've been in the community, done the work, and gotten results. You can count on me to take my tough question asking, results-oriented collaborative leadership to Washington and get things done for you. Thanks again.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Mr. Flowers, you may begin.
First of all, let me say it's an honor to be here with you today. Thank you, Delta Sigma Theta, for all the work that you've done in our communities and the work that I know that you will continue to do in our communities. I am Marcus Flowers, the proud Army veteran and Democrat running to unseat Marjorie Taylor Greene here in Georgia's 14th. I was born in Troy, Alabama, the birthplace of my idol, and did so much work for voting rights. I want to be the one. Now, I didn't have your typical childhood. At 11 years old, I was sent to a children's home because my family, like many families in our district and throughout the country, faced some very difficult times. I grew up in poverty, and I would love to see that come to an end for our children so no one has to go through what it is that I went through again. That was a life-changing experience for me. Kids made fun of me for not having decent clothes or shoes or not having my parents around. But here's one thing that it taught me. It taught me how to deal with bullies at a young age, and it gave me a strength that most of the candidates here don't have right now. At 18, I joined the Army and swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And that's what I've been doing for the last almost 30 years. As a soldier, defense contractor, and official for the Department of Defense. I spent a decade in and out of combat zones in Iraq and Afghanistan, both in and out of uniform. So stated simply, service to this country has been my life. When you've spent time at Camp Bucca, the birthplace of ISIS, when you've negotiated on behalf of the United States with Iraqi and Afghan warlords, and when you've sat face to face with America's true enemies, it gives you some real perspective. And I've seen the best that America has to offer because I've worked alongside of some truly great American heroes. Why I'm here is because what happened on January 6th, I saw that coming. I saw the dark and dangerous path that we were headed down. And that was all a result of misinformation and disinformation from the radical right. But that fight for me began in earnest when I watched George Floyd being murdered at the knee of a police officer. My granddaddy was a sheriff, my uncles were police captains, I had uncles who. But I'm running because I watched American police officers being beaten with American flags while a Confederate battle flag was being paraded through our Capitol Rotunda, an attack on the citadel of our democracy to overthrow a duly elected president. That was an attempted coup. And nothing anyone can say, don't let anyone tell you that it was nonviolent because many weapons were confiscated that day.
10 seconds, sir.
Several officers died, but I'm working and fighting for our veterans, for our seniors, for healthcare in our district, for our infrastructure to bring jobs here. And that's how I will serve our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flowers. Last but not least, we have Ms. McCormack. You may begin.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to speak to you today so that you can make an informed decision. I'm so glad that we are going to have great representation this time around. I'm Holly McCormack, and I'm the Democrat that's going to unseat Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm a mother of 2 teenagers, a wife, and a small business owner in Ringgold, Georgia, at the top of Georgia's 14th congressional district. Growing up here, I've seen firsthand how Northwest Georgia's lack of leadership in Washington has negatively impacted our lives. Our current unrepresentative is not just the same. She's the worst we've ever had. She's not from here, and she doesn't live here. In my campaign, we're talking about kitchen table issues. Meanwhile, she's more interested in fame and ego than actually working for the people here. She cannot and does not represent us. And this isn't how we've raised our children, is it? I've taught my kids not to just never bully, but to step in if they see it happening. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm running because I actually want to make life better for Northwest Georgians. I know our problems because I've lived our struggles, and I live them right now. When the child tax credit ended, my family felt it. In the middle of the month, that $500 let us pay several bills every month and take away some of that worry. That's why my rural revival plan focuses on real-world kitchen table issues. Together, we will address the childcare desert by investing in affordable childcare throughout the district. We're going to give back to veterans who have fought so much for us by fighting to bring the resources to build an in-district VA hospital. We will confront the opioid crisis and addiction crisis head on by addressing the primary underlying causes of addiction, which are untreated childhood trauma and mental health issues, by advocating for investment in our local mental health services. We can revitalize rural transportation by adding a stop in Dalton to the Amtrak potential new rail from Atlanta to Nashville. And I will make sure that every family in Northwest Georgia receives the funding we need so that we have access to affordable high-speed internet so that both our students and businesses can compete in the global marketplace. So how will I win? I was so inspired by Stacey Abrams and Fair Fight with their voter registration strategy that paved the way for us to send our 2 senators to DC.
Ma'am.
I hope to earn your vote. I focus on the issues and not the national rhetoric. I will not add to that. It is not about my ego. On May 24th, I hope you come out and cast your ballot for Holly McCormack for the Democratic primary. First, we're going to win this primary. And
Thank you, Ms. McCormack. We will now move to individual questions for each of you, beginning with Ms. McCormack. If elected, how do you plan to engage the citizens of the U.S. Congressional District 14 to keep them abreast of your progress between legislative sessions?
yes, ma'am. Got myself unmuted. Thank you. I think communication is such an important issue that sometimes we fall back on. I know that there's a lot of worry going on right now nationally, and Democrats, we need to do a great job of telling how much work is getting done. So we're in the technology age. We will absolutely communicate daily of what we're working on and successes that we're having, and have an in-district office that will be manned all the time. Answer calls from constituents to see how we can help better assist them. And definitely having forums and town halls where people can come in, tell us their concerns, and we can fill them in on how we're doing. I'll be very accessible and have an open door policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McCormack. Our next question is for Marcus Flowers. Once in office and you're settled into Washington, D.C., what will be your top issue to address in Congress?
There's so many issues that need to be addressed in this district, but one of the top issues for me, and it's personal for me, are veterans issues, veterans homelessness here in our district. And that plays into homelessness in our district in general. These are the issues that I think we can address by sitting down, talking with our elected leaders in the district, our mayors, our city councils, figuring out a way to steer funds to tackle that issue, along with, as my colleague Holly McCormack said, taking care of our veterans through the VA. I think it's all intertwined, and that's one of the first issues that I will start working on immediately in Congress. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flowers. The final question is to Wendy Davis. What will be your approach to gain bipartisan support and accomplish your goals while in Congress?
Well, that's a fantastic question. Thanks for asking it. Because the reality is the polarization that we have in America right now is one of the biggest problems and one of the biggest obstacles to getting things done. Obviously, our current representative is part and parcel. She will not vote for anything that the Democrats want. And right now, the Democrats are in charge of the Congress. That means every bill that's passed, she's voted against. That's not a way to operate. And even as a Democrat, there's an opportunity that we might not be in the majority in the next Congress. You have seen from my work as a city commissioner and my work through the years, I don't just work with Democrats. I work with people from every walk of life. I have a record of that, a set of accomplishments. We were able to get the stadium built in Rome because we got people together. We organized folks to pass the tax. It's hard to get people to raise their own taxes for something that's really a luxury, even though it has great economic development benefits. But we got people from every walk of life involved. I know how to talk to our Republican neighbors. I know how to get people motivated and excited about activities and events. And their participation in our democracy. And frankly, that's what it's going to take to win this November. This is a Republican district, but I'm the Democrat that can beat Marjorie Taylor.
Thank you, Ms. Thank you, Ms. Davis. Each candidate will now give their closing remarks. Remember, you will have 90 seconds and you will be given a 10-second warning. We will begin with Marcus Flowers, followed by Wendy Davis, and then Holly McCormack. Mr. Flowers, you may begin.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day here, what's really important is getting Marjorie Taylor Greene out of office. Now, she has a huge amount of money. She's raised over $8 million. I'm the only candidate in this race that's come close to what she has. I've raised over $7.5 million in this campaign. There's a reason we are seen as a front runner. It's going to take a formidable candidate to unseat Marjorie Taylor Greene. All of the candidates here are running for the right reasons, but I believe this campaign has the best chance at being able to communicate with the citizens of Northwest Georgia and get the word out and let them know that they will have a choice the next time. And that choice is going to be between a candidate or an incumbent who's all about chaos, or a candidate who will bring stability and fight for the district, who will have constituent services, who will be here in the district to be held accountable, talk to our local elected leaders and get things done, steer funds to our district. I will be that voice in Washington, D.C. for the people of Northwest Georgia. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Wendy Davis, you may begin.
Thank you. Again, thanks for this opportunity to be with you this afternoon. It's so important for people to be engaged and involved. That's what it's going to take for us to win. And all of us here want to be far different than our current representative, but it's easy to make promises and harder to make change in Washington. I'm the only candidate with experience as a policymaker, a solid record of constituent service, and strong grassroots support from our neighbor. Frankly, whoever the Democratic nominee is will have millions of dollars to get their word out. The question is, will they be able to communicate well to get the Democrats excited and win those important swing and Republican votes? You can count on me to be a fierce advocate for Northwest Georgians. I'll make sure we get our fair share of federal resources. We won't be last in line for broadband connectivity or our branch of the electric vehicle grid. I will demand an overhaul of the Veterans Administration so our veterans no longer have to beg for benefits or medical care. I understand why so many of our neighbors are angry and scared in this rapidly changing world. But rather than finding ways to drive people apart, I will continue to work to bring people together to solve problems. And I'll always be interested in your insights and ideas, and I will work tirelessly to address your concerns. My name is Wendy Davis, and I'm asking for your support and your vote in the May 24th primary. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. We will now hear from Holly McCormack.
Thank you so much, Lauren. And thank you again for having me here and get to speak to you today. You know, I'm very grateful for my grassroots donors and supporters all across the nation and in Georgia. But I'm telling you, I have proven what my priorities are and what my leadership style is from how I've already run this campaign in the last year and a half. I'm so proud and grateful with our extremely strong fundraising, huge in a congressional race, but I didn't hold it in the bank. I chose to invest it in Northwest Georgia, in voter registration, sending out thousands of packets and following up with those folks to get registered, because that's how we'll get the numbers to unseat Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's not about my ego. I did not hoard it, okay? This work has to be done. That's what I do. I show up with action. I'm a regular person, a working mom of 2 teenagers, and we need a representative that isn't disconnected. I don't have a ton of family money to put in this, but I do have the will and the values to support us. And I am the candidate that even if somebody is historically conservative, will split their ticket for. because we have the same values. And I've run my campaign to remind people of our values and how we're more alike than we are different. I'm the person to unseat Marjorie Taylor Greene, and that's the decision you all have to make on May 24th or early. Early voting starts on Monday. I'm very excited about.
Thank you. I would like to thank the candidates for your participation this afternoon. Now, we will turn our attention to Diane Ferris of the Douglas Carroll Paulding County's alumni for the next segment of our forum. Thank you.
Thank you, Sora Leslie. Good afternoon. I have the honor and the pleasure of introducing our last moderator. Dr. Adrienne Johnson is an experienced educational leader who has taught K through 12 students in the area of special education for over 34 years. Sora Johnson is a resident of Douglas County and an active social action committee member. Sora Johnson.
Thank you so much, Sora Ferris, for that wonderful introduction. We will get started with the candidate introductions and platforms. Candidates, this is just a reminder that you will have 3 minutes to introduce yourselves, give a brief background, and let the audience know the priorities of your candidacy. We'll begin with Eric Allen.
Thank you very much for having us today, and thank you for your continued civic engagement as an association, as an organization. I'm Eric Allen. I'm currently the Georgia's 40th district. I represent the Georgia's 40th House District, which is primarily in Cobb, but also a little bit of Fulton County. And I'm running for Lieutenant Governor. It's pretty simple because I believe in Georgia. I have served in the legislature after running 3 times in order to flip a seat from a 20-year incumbent Republican. I'm the only person in this race that has done so and won a competitive election in November. I've always been a champion for our environment. When my community was told that there was a company that was spewing a carcinogen, making people sick, I jumped into action. And because of that work, introducing legislation and working with the EPA and EPD, was given a perfect rating by Georgia conservation voters. I've also been very firm on our election laws, integrity, to make sure that we fight back on all of these bad bills that have come forward. I have also been given a perfect rating by the Georgia NAACP for my work on social justice. So I'm running on a strong record, a record that I'm proud of, and a record that doesn't ask the question of what will I do when I get in office. It answers the question that I will continue to do the things that I have been doing for the last 2 terms in the state house. I am a husband, I am a father, I am a small business owner, and with your support, I look forward to being your next Lieutenant Governor.
All right, thank you very much. Next, we'll have Charlie Bailey.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you to Delta Sigma Theta for inviting us and hosting this forum. I apologize for being on my phone here. I'm on the road campaigning and popped into supporters' home to get some Wi-Fi. So I'm glad to be here with y'all. I'm running for Lieutenant Governor. My name is Charlie Bailey. I'm running for Lieutenant Governor because, in my view, every day, the vast majority of Georgians, they get up, they go to work, and they're worried about, is my kid safe? How are they doing in school? If I get a hospital bill, can I pay it? Do I have the health insurance to pay it? Do I have the money in my account to pay it? And instead of working on those issues that are closest to the hearts and the lives of the people of Georgia, our main 2 Republican opponents in this race are in a competition over who can be the biggest authoritarian. You got one of them, Burt Jones, who was a false elector for Trump, tried to overturn the election. The other, Butch Miller, trying to outdo him, recently brought Marjorie Taylor Greene, and we got some friends running against her on this call here, recently brought Marjorie Taylor Greene to the floor of the state Senate as representation of the politics that he believes in, which I'd submit to you is a politics of hate and division. It's a politics that says, not everybody's vote does matter the same. And not everybody's child matters the same, and not everybody's community matters the same. Not everybody's school matters the same. Well, I tell you what I believe. I believe that we are all human beings, that we all love our families, that we all deserve the same dignity, the same respect, the same measure of justice, the same measure of safety, and the same opportunity to build for our families a better life, the one that we had. And it's those values that have driven my life, that have driven my career, whether that was as an attorney to Governor Roy Barnes at his law firm, Barnes Law Group, whether that was as a senior assistant district attorney in Fulton County working on organized crime, whether that was as the Democratic nominee for Attorney General 4 years ago, where I got 49% of the vote, the highest vote share of any down ballot statewide Democrat. Back in private practice now at the firm Cook and Conley, founded by a man who represented labor unions in the 50s before anybody would do so. Or whether it's in this campaign, it's those values that drive me. And it's those values that drive the deeds that I want to get done. Medicaid expansion so we can cover over 600,000 Georgians that don't have health care right now. I believe we need to be paying teachers $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 a year, put our money where our mouth is in terms of what we value. The Republicans like to talk a lot about what they value, but they've been in charge of the state for 20 years and they're not doing anything about it. We need to reduce class sizes. I look forward to talking to you all further, and I appreciate the consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Dr. Jason Hayes.
Hello, Delta Sigma Theta sorority of Douglas, Carroll, Paulding County. Patricia Roberts Harris, Shirley Chisholm, those are some of the stalwarts of Delta Sigma Theta. So I'm fully aware of your organization and your political involvement, and also your involvement with the community. So I'm glad to be here. Again, my name is Dr. Jason Hayes, Democratic candidate for Lieutenant Governor. I'm originally from Louisiana, family members, mother a nurse, father a Navy veteran, grandfather, Army veteran, grandmother, also a school teacher. So public service is something that was put onto me, something that was planted in my mind early on, especially when I decided to become a physician. I wanted to help people. I went to Xavier University of New Orleans in Louisiana, a historically Black college university. Also went to Meharry Medical College, another historically Black college university, where I've learned about volunteering. Also had the opportunity to get not only a medical degree, but a master's in public health. And I did work as a congressional intern. One thing about me is that I am here to do good for people. I'm not necessarily here for a party, but I'm here for people. I ran for office back in 2020 in Alpharetta and did an excellent job, almost flipping the seat. I actually won my primary, 54% of the vote against another constituent, and then almost flipped the seat at 47.2% of the vote. Did really well as a Democrat in a Republican district, showed that I was well liked by Democrats, but also liked by Republicans. And what's important about the lieutenant governor's position is that you're going to need a candidate that actually has good bipartisan appeal, and I am that candidate. So the 4 things that I want to do as lieutenant governor is, number 1, healthcare. I'm a medical doctor with a master's in public health, and it's unacceptable that Georgia is ranked 43rd in healthcare, and also unacceptable that we are number 2 worst state in terms of maternal mortality, and also abortion care and women's health care is under attack. I've experienced working with the National Health Service Corps as a physician in underserved communities, and also I was also an interim medical director at a federally qualified health center. So besides expanding Medicaid, which will give 400 to 500,000 people with access to affordable health insurance, I want to bring federally qualified health centers to underserved communities where we can recruit more doctors, OBGYNs, pediatrics, and internal medicine. Number 2, education. I mentioned both of my paternal grandparents were educators, so I really believe that school teachers need not only better support in the classroom, but they also need better pay. Also, our students want to still push STEM, science, and the technology, engineering, and math. We also have students who do not want to go to college. So we need to bring back trade skill opportunities for them. In addition, we need to teach small business ownership and finance skills as well. So when students graduate, they have an opportunity to make something of themselves and also to help their community. Number 3, economic growth. I am a small business owner as a physician, and I love being a small business owner. I also have an executive master's in business. So people need to learn this, and we need to put them in that position. And 4, voter access, voter protections. Please vote for me, Dr. Jason Hayes, Democratic candidate for Lieutenant Governor. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll have Kwanzaa Hall.
Hey, Sarah Johnson, go to the next candidates, and if he's able to log in, we'll let him go if we don't pass this session, okay?
Okay, that's fine. The next person we'll hear from is Renita Shannon.
Thank you, DCP, for allowing us to talk to you today. I'm State Representative Renita Shannon, and before I was an elected official, I was a community organizer and also a successful business executive working on the issues that organizing on the issues that matter to working families. My sister and I were raised by two hardworking parents. My mom was a nurse and my dad was a pastor and a community organizer before they had a fancy word for what he was doing. He was always running around to NAACP meetings, SCLC meetings, and I always appreciated the work that my dad did, but I never quite understood why it was so important to organize the community and be invested in working on issues that matter to working families until I was about 12 years old. And that was when I witnessed a televised national beating of a Black man by the name of Rodney King. And then I watched the courts acquit those police officers for doing that. It was in that moment that I fully understood why we need to fight for equal justice and why we must be invested in making sure that our communities are receiving the justice that we need on issues. Wanting to see equal justice on the issues is just one of the reasons that I ran for State House in 2017. We still have a long ways to go. It's still the case that the majority of policy centers the folks who have been able to vote the longest, and that is straight white men. We have the power to reach a policy that reflects all of us, and that is what my work has been about in the State House. The four things that I want to do as Lieutenant Governor is number one, protect voting rights. I'm the only candidate in this race that can say that they've had the experience of directly standing up to the Trump lawyers to protect the rights of Georgians. This happened in 2020 when they came before my committee, Governmental Affairs, and tried to convince us to throw out the votes of Georgians and give the state to Trump. So I would protect voting rights. The second thing I would do is end mass incarceration in Georgia. We still have the case where folks are being placed on probation and supervision just because they can't pay a speeding ticket. I would work to make sure that workers would be paid a livable wage because we know that workers are the majority in this state, and it's long past time that policy actually reflected that. Last but not least, I would work to fully expand Medicaid. I am the only person in this race who can also say that they've gotten the state to expand Medicaid even just a little bit. I led a successful effort to expand postpartum Medicaid because we were seeing that Black women were 3 to 4 times more likely to die just trying to give birth. And we needed to do something about the maternal mortality crisis. So now I'm running for Lieutenant Governor because regressive policies have shaped a harsh reality for far too many Georgians, particularly working Georgians. We are losing lots of our value, which is our people are our inherent value. And we're losing a lot of that value due to our failure to move forward with policies that benefit all of us. We need a lieutenant governor who's going to fight for our collective future. That person is me. I'm Renita Shannon, and I'm running for lieutenant governor.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from Derek Jackson. Please offer your introductions and priorities of your candidacy.
Good afternoon to the phenomenal ladies of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I am Derek Jackson, State Representative of District 64, and I want to earn your vote to become the next Lieutenant Governor. In full transparency, I am married to a Delta. 2 of our 4 daughters are Deltas. The other 2 are ladies in waiting. We also have 3 sons. So let me just be quite clear this afternoon. We just finished a rally. I'm over in Savannah. We just finished a rally with Stacey Abrams. I am a husband, father, as I said, 7 children. I am a retired military officer, 22 years in the United States Navy. And then after I retired in 2005, 10 years in corporate America, worked at General Electric, and then 6 years under the Gold Dome, state representative. Experience matters. We all know, and I don't need to convince the ladies of Delta Sigma Theta, experience matters. I'm the only candidate of the 9 with 38 years of experience. Since 1983, I've been fighting for democracy. Since 1983, I've been fighting for voting rights, civil rights, women's rights. And since 1983, I was fighting for LGBTQ rights before it was known as LGBTQ. And one of the things that we have to look at When you look at all 9 candidates for lieutenant governor, look at experience. The next thing I would like to highlight is compassion. I'm a product of a single parent home. My mother was a nurse before she left this world in 2013. She raised me and my 3 baby sisters. One of the things I learned from her was compassion. And as a life member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, we all have the love for mankind. I'm the only candidate that's a member of the Divine Nine. And then last but not least is this, integrity. You never have to Google and see me saying something very contrary that I've said last year or the last 5 years. Integrity matters. Misinformation, disinformation, as I just shared with Stacy and others. We cannot have misinformation, disinformation in our society because people have died. I'm the only candidate during the infancy stage of this pandemic, 2.5, 3 years ago now, walked in Governor Kemp's office and said, as a retired naval officer, I suggested to him to set up military triages. Albany was the hot spot, not just of Georgia, but hot spot in the United States. And I offered some suggestions to Governor Kemp, and it took him 5.5 weeks to act upon it. And I'm quite sure, it's deep in my heart, that if he would have did the right thing, we would not have had 30.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jackson, for those passionate remarks. At this time, we'll have each candidate receive a unique question. Remember that you'll have 60 seconds to answer each question with a 10-second warning at the end. This first question will be addressed to Dr. Jason Hayes. Dr. Hayes, name the top 2 issues you feel will need immediate attention once you are in office.
Yes, number one, the first issue is Medicaid expansion. We'll make sure that I can advocate and also advise whoever is the governor, state rep, and state house on the importance of Medicaid expansion and also bringing doctors to underserved communities. And then number 2, we must focus on economic growth. We must make sure that we bring small business ownership to all communities, especially those that are marginalized. And also we must make sure that we negotiate and work with corporations to bring in community job hiring and training to our communities. Without economic growth, we cannot do anything else. And third, I must add voter access, voter protections. We must make sure that the access to vote is protected as well.
Thank you very much. You're welcome. This next question is addressed to Charlie Bailey. Mr. Bailey, as leader of the Georgia Senate, how will you achieve bipartisanship in getting objectives done for Georgia citizens?
It's a great question, and thank you for it. So I'm not going to assume that the Republicans in the state Senate are going to act in bad faith. I know we have plenty of evidence of them doing that, but might as well start there. I mean, most folks that are smarter than me think we're going to gain a seat in the state Senate. That still leaves us where I need 6 Republican votes to pass legislation through the state Senate. So take Medicaid expansion that I think a number of my friends share, and my belief as well, that it's the number 1 priority. Well, I'm from a rural part of the state. I'm from Harris County, Georgia. We've had 8 rural hospitals close in the last 10 years because of the abject moral failing not to expand Medicaid. Well, when we start having these conversations, we're going to make the arguments to individual Republican state senators, and we're going to tell them how many of their constituents would receive health care. 1, if we expanded Medicaid, how many of their hospitals would open back up with those Medicaid dollars? We make an argument to them that way. And I'm not convinced we can't get 6 Republican votes on that, but don't mistake me. If they stand in the way, if these Republicans stand in the way of these initiatives that are going to help the people of Georgia, then I promise you this, I'm going to raise more money for Democrats running for state Senate than has ever been raised in the history of this state. And we're going to go out and we're going to beat the people that stand in the way of this kind of progress. So they get a chance, but if they stand in the way of the progress, we got to replace them. And that's what I'll do.
Thank you very much. This next question is addressed to Eric Allen. Mr. Allen, how does the lieutenant governor position affect the daily lives of ordinary Georgia citizens?
You know what, thank you very much for that question, because it has a huge impact. And I know some people have talked about the legislative priorities of what they would like to do, but there's also leadership involved. I mean, we as Democrats, and some of us on this call that are elected, we've signed onto bills every single session for the last, I think it's been 6 to 8, maybe even 12 years to expand Medicaid. We've tried to raise money and do things to flip seats. There are so many things the lieutenant governor can do that's not legislative, such as making appointments, over 150 appointments to different boards and authorities to make sure that we have the right representation that matters, to work with our departments to do what they can administratively to not only provide more and better health care to Georgians, but also making sure that the EPA fines organizations the full $20,000 per environmental incident, opposed to fining them $500. So there's a lot of things the lieutenant governor can do that can help the everyday lives of Georgians, and it's not necessarily always going to fight with the legislature. There will be things that we can work on and we will get consensus to do, but we also have to be ready to lead in instances where we can't legislate with a Republican majority in the House and Senate.
All right, thank you, sir. The next question is addressed to Derek Jackson. Mr. Jackson, what will be your working relationship with the governor to keep you abreast of the state's affairs?
Thank you for the question. My working relationship with the governor would be quite simple. Make sure that the priorities for the people are addressed. And you know, we have seen once before, about 20 years ago, where the governor was a Republican and the lieutenant governor was a Democrat. You have to be able to be a consensus builder to be able to get things done. Georgians are exhausted of the us versus they type of fight. They want their government to show up for them and deliver the mandated services that are required, such as healthcare, public education, justice. So the lieutenant governor should have the skill set to make sure that they not only invite citizens to the Gold Dome, but make sure they have a seat at the table and exercise their voice through things such as the budget. We don't have to wait for the federal government to act upon giving us dollars. We have, for example, we have a $3.7 billion surplus this fiscal year. That 3.7 can help small businesses. That $3.7 billion can help women who are dealing with, maternity, pregnancy. That $3.7 billion can help reform our justice system. And so we don't have to wait for the federal government. That's the reason why experience matters. And if you have a lieutenant governor with that experience and a consensus builder to get things done.
All right, thank you, sir. And we'll now address the last question to Renita Shannon. Ms. Shannon, how will you keep special interest groups at bay to focus on the needs of Georgia citizens?
Well, I think what we have to do is just make sure that we are leading on our priorities. It's not a special interest to say that we need to expand Medicaid, that we need to protect voting rights, that we need to do something about criminal justice reform in this state, and that we need to prioritize workers. So I'm less concerned about making sure that special interest groups don't have their way, because my background as a community organizer and a successful business executive has given me experience to make sure that we are leading, that I'm leading with my values and I'm not easily deterred. So I don't think that would be a concern.
Thank you very much. So now at this time, we'll go to closing remarks. Remember, there are 90 seconds for each candidate's response with a 10-second warning at the end. We'll begin closing remarks with Derek Jackson.
Good. Can you hear me now, Ms. Johnson?
Yes, sir.
Okay, there we go. It seemed like it was. Again, I am a husband. I am a father. I'm a retired naval officer. I'm the only candidate with 38 years of experience, leadership, and service. It's important, as frail as our democracy is, that as we continue to go to the ballot box, starting on May 2nd for early voting, we have to select the right candidate. In full transparency, as I stated, I'm the only member of the Divine Nine. I'm the only one that is also a life member of the NAACP. And so I've been fighting the good fight for democracy and voting rights and civil rights since 1983. Please, ma'am, go to derekjackson.org. I look forward to earning your vote as I continue to crisscross Georgia. In the last 25 days, I've already tallied 4,974 miles, touched 52 counties of 159 counties, because I want to meet families and citizens where they are. Our healthcare should not be based on the proximity to Atlanta. All parts of Georgia, 159 counties, should have the same quality of life. I'm Derek Jackson. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Eric Allen, closing remarks.
Yes, thank you very much. And I know all the candidates in the same position. Everybody's having a busy day and traveling around, but I want to thank you guys for taking time to do this. As I close, I just want to make sure, you think through. There are 9 candidates in this race. There are 9 quality candidates in this race. However, as has been said, experience matters. I am the only candidate in this race who has not only served in the legislature, but I'm the only member of the legislature that has ever also worked as an executive in state government, where I worked at the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities. I'm the only candidate in this race who has won an election, not come close, but won an election in November and flipped a seat from a Republican candidate or a Republican incumbent. I'm the only person in this race with not only a perfect rating from the Georgia NAACP, but also Georgia Conservation Voters. And I was also the 2021 Legislator of the Year by the Mental Health Consumer Network. All of that is just an example of not myself or anyone else, but the people that I have served and worked with, recognizing my leadership and my ability to get things done. I am also the only candidate in this race who has legislation that I authored that has been signed by the governor, the current governor. So this election is going to matter. We're going to need someone that can support our new governor going in or work with any governor that's in office. And I'm that candidate, and I am ready to serve you. Go to allenforgeorgia.com for more information.
Thank you, sir. At this time, we'll go with Renita Shannon. Closing remarks, please.
Well, thank you again, DCP, for having us. Again, for my closing remarks, what I'd like to say is that a lot of candidates will tell you what they want to do, but I will show you receipts for what I've actually gotten done. The last 6 years serving in the State House of Representatives, I am the only candidate that can say that they've had the experience of directly having to protect the rights of Georgians to vote and making sure that Georgians' votes do count. And that was, again, standing up to the Trump lawyers when they tried to take away our votes to count. I'm the only candidate who's had that experience. I'm the only candidate who has been able to get Medicaid expanded even just a little bit in leading the successful fight to expand postpartum Medicaid in the state of Georgia. Before I worked on that issue, folks are being kicked off of Medicaid 60 days after giving birth. Now, because of that effort, we are up to 1 year. The groups that you trust, like Working Families Party, New Georgia Project PAC, NARAL, and others, they've gotten behind my campaign and they are supporting me, and they've chosen me out of the 9 candidates that are running because they know that I know policy, and the only way you can protect folks is if you actually know policy. So again, if you want to learn more about my candidacy, please go to renitashannon.com and I'll put the information in the chat box.
Thank you, Ms. Shannon. Next, we'll hear closing remarks from Charlie Bailey.
Well, again, thank you to Delta Sigma Theta for having us today. My name is Charlie Bailey, and I'm running to build one Georgia. While the Republicans focus on this hate and division, they try to restrict the ability of teachers to teach history when they try to pick out what kind of, what kids are going to pick on today. They're not working on the issues that the people of Georgia need them to work on. So I will get to work expanding Medicaid, paying our teachers more, reducing class sizes, making technical school tuition free again in the state of Georgia, working to invest and provide both equal safety and equal justice for our people, because everybody knows you cannot have one without the other. I humbly ask for your vote. I hope that I can earn it. I ask you to stand with me in this election. stand with folks that have endorsed me, like Mayor Shirley Franklin and Congresswoman Lucy McBath, Governor Roy Barnes, and Congressman Hank Johnson. You stand with me in this election. I promise you, you will never have to apologize, and you will always know my friend Charlie, he fights for us. I invite you to visit my website, charlieforgeorgia.com. You can find the campaign on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and I hope y'all have a good rest of your weekend. And thank you again for the opportunity to visit with you this afternoon.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure having you all. Dr. Jason Hayes, closing remarks, please.
Yes, thank you so much, Delta Sigma Theta, for having me to come. First question I want to ask you is this: do you have more money in your pockets? Is your health care better? Do you have less crime in your community? If the answer is yes, vote for these people. Vote for the career politicians. Vote for people who have been backed by retired career politicians. If the answer is no, it is your moral right and responsibility to look at other candidates who actually have experience in the real world. Look at Dr. Jason Hayes, physician, small business owner, and also philanthropist. And I'm the only candidate that's actually a real bipartisan candidate for lieutenant governor. I'm the only candidate being truthful about my actual record running for office. And I'm the only candidate that does not owe anybody. I don't know anybody in the Democratic Party or Republican Party. I'm here for people. And the same way I take care of my patients is the same way I take care of you. Vote Dr. Jason Hayes, Democratic candidate for lieutenant governor, right here in the great state of Georgia. Go to www.jasonhayes4forga.com and also text Dr. Jason Hayes to 90678. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Tell us how you really feel, Dr. Hayes.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We got to be truthful. We got to stop listening to career politicians and stop allowing people to dictate what's going on. We need real people who are here for people.
Well, that concludes our candidate portion of the forum. At this time, we will turn our attention to the Social Action Chair, Sora Tiffany Ringfield, for closing remarks.
Thank you, Sarah Johnson. You did an awesome job. And I just want to thank the guests for coming in, the candidates for scheduling us and making us fit into your schedule for today. I know it is very tight. This is the last weekend before we actually start the primaries. So that, with that being said, remember, early voting starts May the 2nd. Primaries will be May 24th, 2022. Primary runoff, if need be, will be June 21st, 2022. For the general election in November, that will be November the 8th, 2022. Should we need a runoff at that point, it will be December the 6th, 2022. DCP, we have one more candidate form remaining, and that's going to be on Tuesday. That's right, this Tuesday at 7 p.m. It will be a part of our May week activities. We will start those. We've already started those, actually. For that particular forum, that will be the State House of Representatives for the newly formed District of 64. That will be also the State Senate race of District 35, and that will be the Douglas County Commission District 4. We hope that the audience was able to learn something new about our candidates. Be sure to share the information with friends and family. And thank you for your attendance. Special thanks to my dedicated Soras of the Social Action Committee, and we look forward to seeing you on Tuesday. Okay, Soros, we'll give it about 5 minutes and we'll do some feedback. Oh, well. You may want to
wait just a minute to allow Facebook to catch up with us. I think we're there now.
Okay.
All righty.
All right then.
I'm sure you can end the recording.
Okay, Sora Livesey and As far as Beverly and Lauren Livesey, how y'all feel?
The recording has stopped.
I think I still hear voices in here. Probably want to check the chat for
Doris, please give us a minute. We're still on Facebook.
Okay, thanks.